Hey everybody, welcome to Cinema Trip Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about probably one of the most divisive movies of the year, and that is Halloween Ends. Everyone, welcome to Cinema Trip Reviews. I am Wyatt, and once again, I am joined by Alex. We're not talking about a werewolf movie this week. We're talking about Halloween Ends, which just came out in theaters and, of course, on Peacock. It is being met with some people liked it. A lot of people are really, really hating this movie. Some people are saying it is probably one of the worst Halloweens to date. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's nearly as bad as like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 or Halloween Resurrection. But I'm sure we're going to dive into pretty much everything. So I'm eager to hear what your opinion is on this movie.
I'm in the bank. I think it's I hated it.
You hated it?
Hated it. I think the first 15 was good and the
Yeah.
last 15 were good. Everything in the middle I hated.
Oh, okay.
Hated it. Loathed it.
Interesting.
I was sitting there pissy with this movie. And I don't know, we reviewed the last one and
Yeah.
I didn't love that one either, but that one I was like, "Oh, okay. That's leaps and bounds better for me." But I mean, we'll get more into it. I hated it.
Yeah. Before we get into everything, make sure to
Yeah.
like, share, and subscribe as usual. Go follow us on Twitter at Cinema Trip Views, and also go check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Pretty much available everywhere. But yeah, this movie, of course, is the final part of the trilogy made by David Gordon Green and company with Blumhouse for this Halloween trilogy. If you haven't seen our Halloween Kills review, definitely go back and watch that one. Me, you, Vernon, and Evan got in on that one. What did you think about Halloween 2018, the first part of the David Gordon Green trilogy?
Yeah, the show's that's actually one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I would say that's top 3 without really thinking too hard into it. I'd say it's my top 3 Halloweens.
I would say the same. I actually someone said like on Twitter about like what your top favorite Halloweens would be, and I said like the original, of course. But as far as sequels, I'd be like the original Halloween 2, probably 2018 to be honest. I really like that movie a lot. And then I went with Halloween 3 because I love Halloween 3. But
Halloween 3 is a good choice. Mine, and I know it's like a cheesy, but the one I really grew up would be H2O would be my other one.
yeah,
Because
I mean
I
that
like
makes sense
H2O.
though.
I grew up with that one though. That one was the one that really introduced me to Halloween.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really go wrong with H2O. Then it's a very safe movie as far as Halloween goes.
Safe.
Yeah. But you said like you were kind of iffy on Kills.
Kills we talked about. A little
From what I remember.
ridiculous. I was iffy on it. Leaps and bounds better to this to me, but I did like it. I have thinking these progressively gotten worse. It was nowhere as close to as good as the first one, but I think it's much better than this one that just came out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think this one is definitely the weakest of the trilogy here. Now, Kills I am okay with pretty much to a point because I recognize it pretty much for what it is at this point, which is pretty much just a fun slasher movie. There really isn't much substance to it that you would expect out of a middle part of a trilogy. But I mean, it's kind of a fun slasher movie. If Halloween Kills would have came out in the 80s, it probably would have been a huge hit. Like, people would have loved it, and it probably would have became a classic at this point, just because of how crazy it is and how kind of similar it is to like an 80s horror movie, just how slashery it is. It's very different than some of the other Halloweens.
Yeah.
Very much like this one, where this one just coming out, I liked the first half of this movie. I was okay with the first half. The second half, there's bits and pieces I'm like, okay, I can see what they wanted to do, but it didn't work. And then there's parts I fucking hated. I absolutely hated in this movie, like you're saying. But for the most part, I gotta give them credit for trying to do something new with the franchise. Now, I think this movie, even though it is part of a third part of a trilogy, I feel like it stands better, it fits better alone. Like, if you just watch it by itself, I feel like it's kind of its own little movie. Like, if they would have did like an anthology within the Halloween universe, this would be kind of like a cool little story, like with Corey Cunningham and stuff. But to finish off a trilogy where you're saying this is going to be the build up and final fight between Laurie and Michael Myers, you don't even get that, really. I mean, you do at the very end, but you see it all in the trailer, what they do show you. So it's like, I don't know, very anticlimactic.
The crazy thing is to me is one of the biggest complaints about the second one was, where's Laurie? Laurie's not in this movie. How did they take that complaint and they were like, you know what? Let's not put Michael in this movie for fucking 90% of the runtime. People will love that. He's not in this movie like at all. Like the
Yeah.
whole thing. This is a Halloween movie. And listen, I even like Season of the Witch. I'm a down with Halloween 3 because it had nothing to do with Michael Myers. So I
Yeah.
was cool with this has something to do with him. And they're like, no, just put him on the way. Like, fuck off. Fuck
Yeah, I
you.
mean, I was even okay with that to a point. The biggest complaint about like because he's in a weakened state through a majority of this movie, and I'm sure we're gonna get to it, but like I'm just gonna say like the part I hated one of the most was when he got bitched out and Corey took his mask from him. Like, bro,
Yeah.
what the fuck were they thinking?
And like, and I'm cool. I get it. He's like this 70-year-old man. He's old as fuck. I understand, but like, he's still a serial killer. We're all at the willing suspense of disbelief that Michael Myers can do crazy shit. Like,
Yeah.
he's getting bitched out by this little kid, and I'm
And
like,
that's the
this
thing
child.
is, there's certain things that like you've only seen it once. I'm
Mhm.
guessing. I watched it again over the weekend, so I've seen it twice now. And I feel like there's certain stuff in this movie that happens, and there's really no explanation to it. Where of course, in some movies it works, like where you gotta have to figure it out yourself, or they don't give you any answers to some of the questions, which is okay. But in certain circumstances like this movie, it's like, all right, you kind of needed an explanation of why this is happening a little bit. This is 4 years later after Halloween Kills, which this wasn't the original plan for the movie. The whole trilogy was supposed to be on one night. Like it was
Which would have been
supposed to
cooler.
continue. I think it would have been a lot cooler.
Yeah.
But apparently because of COVID, which delayed filming, which delayed the release of Kills, and then they kind of went back to the drawing board on Ends. They decided to set this one 4 years later, setting it in pretty much present day. I didn't like that right off the bat, but I feel like they could have found a better way of doing the story than like this.
Yeah.
And this is my problem with like Jurassic World, Dominion, and a couple of these other movies that have come out recently. Why do you wait until the final part of a trilogy to introduce something brand new and then you focus pretty much on that new thing all movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
You could have incorporated this Corey Cunningham character in either of these past
Way
two
earlier.
movies. Yeah, in
Yeah.
Kills or the original 2018. It would have been fine introducing him in Kills in some capacity. It doesn't matter. But man, like what the hell? Like
He's this brand new character that they want us to absolutely pay attention to.
yeah.
And I didn't like Jamie Lee Curtis is obviously the main character in the first one and just Halloween. And then
Yeah.
I was okay with it because it's like her daughter and her granddaughter in the second one. And that's a natural progression. This one, they're like, oh, here's a new guy. Who the fuck is this guy? Like, and I know they set him up, but I'm just like, fuck this guy. Like, I don't care about him.
And just the way it kicks off the movie
Which
is
I do
it
like
starts in
this.
2019, about like right after, like the year after the events of 2018 and Halloween Kills. Corey Cunningham is like babysitting this family. He's babysitting this kid. The kid is pretty much a dickhead and is like running around fucking with him, like locks him in a room.
Did you before you get too far, did you see what they were watching on TV? I did like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in the original Halloween, they're watching The Thing from Outer Space. I was like, that's kind of a clever nod for
It
both.
is pretty
John
cool.
Carpenter. I was like, it's years later, so now they're watching the remake of it. So I like that.
Yeah, and I think they do a really good job in the beginning here of making you think that it's Michael fucking around with this kid. Because I don't know if you caught it, but there is certain, like when he's looking for the kid, like because first he goes to the kitchen to get like something to drink or whatever, and then like he hears like a bang, the like lamps falling over. But as the course, when he's like kind of walking through the house, you see shadows kind of moving in the background of someone walking. Like, oh shit, is it Michael? Like, but no, it's just this kid being a dick, man. Like taking knives, like opening doors, and he like locks him in the room. Corey pretty much has enough, and man, this is just terrible timing. The parents, as soon as they get home, he kicks that door open. That kid hits him right in the head, and he falls down like the huge spiral staircase, man.
And it's brutal. They like show you hit this kid smack the ground. He like his head just flicks up. I'm like, oh
yeah,
that was brutal.
It's pretty gnarly, and like right when they come into the house, he's like, "Let me out of here! I'm gonna kill you," or whatever. Like it doesn't sound good at all from a parent's point of view. Yeah, and he's holding the knife and everything. But that's the intro to the movie, which I think it's a good intro. It definitely wasn't what I was expecting, but I guess it's since the rest of the movie is based around this kid, it works in this case. Pretty much the rest of the movie is Laurie has kind of moved on now, even though she spent 40 years like prepping for Michael Myers to escape and building like that compound, and like she's battle trained. Even though he just killed her daughter and everything, 4 years later, she's like, I'm going to move on with my life. Yeah. Even though he's still out there, he hasn't been caught. Yeah.
When he was in prison, then she was like, I got to prepare for this dude. But now that he's out there, she's like, nah, it's probably good.
It's all right. He's gone, right? He's not going to cut. It's been 4 years. But yeah, she's just kind of moving on with her life. Allison, she seems like she's kind of going through it a little bit at this point in time. I really wish they would have gave Allison more to do, even though she does have a big part of the story. She seems like she's just kind of a side character. Like, I feel like they should have focused on Allison more and kind of had her kind of story be around her more than like this Corey Cunningham character.
Yeah. Corey was the main character of this movie. Yeah. That's who we followed the entire time.
Exactly. And this movie is a very like story driven, character focused movie. And I wish they would have done that, focused on Laurie or Allison more so than this guy. But yeah, like you said, this movie follows Corey pretty much the whole damn time. And then you kind of have little cuts with Allison and, Laurie interjecting into his story pretty much.
Yeah. So I'm not so negative all the time. The movie is probably the moodiest out of all of them. Like,
it's well made, I think. I thought it was well shot and everything.
I think it was well shot. I think the kills were pretty cool, other than one, which I'll get to. There is makings of what I thought could be a good movie, and we kind of talked about how we would have changed it. I even liked Corey's character. I just didn't like where they took him.
I agree.
It was such a drastic change, like real quick, and I didn't feel like that's where they were pushing him. Mm-hmm. And then like it was just like, oh, now he's this guy, and I'm like, oh, what? And it just felt very off to me. So
yeah. And it seems like they just had a bunch of different ideas of what to do with them. And then they just took like 2 of them and they're like, all right, let's find a way to work it into this story a little bit. Because they go the route where I guess he's kind of the town pariah. Like people just look at him weird. They treat him like pretty badly. You got marching band kids picking on him and shit. Like, dude, this dude's like 24 years old now. Yeah. They said he was like 21 in the 2019, like at the very beginning. So 4 years later, man, like he's old enough he could handle himself against these kids. Like, come on now. But that's what kind of gravitates Allison and like Laurie to him a little bit too.
Yeah, which I was fine with. I gotta say one of my biggest complaints is I feel like the motifs the first and the second one set up, this one just shits on.
Yeah.
Like two motifs that they really wanted to get rid of was the sibling thing they wanted to get rid of, and not that they bring that back, but I'll tell you where I think there is that motif again, where I'm like, well, why are they on this thing? And also that Michael Myers was just the bad guy, and now again they're like passing the generational thing, and again I don't want to spoil it, but like I'm like this is like weird Halloween sequel shit, like the Thorn sequel shit, where they're like it's a whole big thing and he's passing the like. That's just weird shit, Why can't he just be a bad guy,
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be more to it, He could just be a serial killer. But this one added, and I felt like the first two really were, like, trying to put an end to that. Hey, he's just a serial killer. He's just a deranged man. Yeah. And then this one was like, no, never mind, There's something special about him. He's fucking everybody. And I'm like, I didn't like it.
Yeah, and they took these first 2 movies, and I feel like they made some decent characters that I actually grown to like, other than Laurie, which we knew, but like Allison, her mom got killed at the end of Kills, but you still had Hawkins, like he's in this movie, but man,
barely.
He should have had a huge part. I feel like he's still within the sheriff's department and everything. He should have been out here trying to solve this shit or helping Laurie in some way, and you just kind of barely used him at all. Like, man, he was a great character, and even in like Kills and everything, he's like, I gotta stop him. I gotta be the one to kill him or whatever. Like, where'd that go? Where did that arc go? And like the same thing with the whole Michael goes to his house and stares through that window. They never explain why he sits in that one spot looking out his sister's window and everything. Yeah. It's like, nope, we tore down the house within these 4 years. It's not there anymore. In like a newspaper clipping, you see it. It's like, oh, Myers' house destroyed. They just kind of throw away everything they've done in these past 2 movies, and this movie doesn't even feel like it belongs to these other 2.
Yeah, and that was my biggest disappointment because this was a good setup. It was going well so far. Even though the second one
Yeah,
was my favorite, I was okay to see where it went. But
yeah,
this did not feel like those two had anything to do with it. Like you said earlier, this could have been a complete standalone movie and it would have made just as much sense.
yeah.
You do not need the first two to watch this movie at all. And one of my notes is here is that they even recap it. They knew it too
I was
because
gonna
they're
say
like
that was one of the parts I
hated it.
hated, dude.
Yeah, look what are you
what was the point
recapping?
of showing a recap video when this is just part of a trilogy and people already know the original movie?
Because
People,
they
I'm sure
knew.
they wouldn't see this one without seeing the other two. These movies haven't been released that far apart from each
Yeah.
other. The Kills came out last year.
They did it twice too. They did two recaps
Yeah,
at
one
two
at the
different
beginning,
parts of the movie.
one at the end. Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, what? Like,
I hated that too. I was not
I'm
in.
telling you, the director, the film, they knew this movie had nothing to do. They had to tie it back into it, or we would all been confused.
When I did my initial trailer reaction to this movie, people are, I don't know if you watched the trailer, but people are picking it apart. Michael has extra two fingers. He grew them back now. So everyone's instantly, there's an imposter Michael Myers in this movie or a copycat killer.
Okay.
Immediately, like not long after that trailer came out, people were like, you know, how they go, internet sleuths, they dive in
Yeah.
and dissect the trailer. Like, this isn't Michael Myers. His fingers are still there. Like, they're just figuring out everything. So, and then they attached to the main trailer, they had the description of the movie. And they kind of worded it weird because they said like Corey Cunningham is framed for a murder, such and such, and it's like he wasn't even really framed. But I
Yeah.
think that would have been even better. That would have been my idea for the story. Have the same beginning, except have Michael kill this kid, and it fits perfectly with the beginning where the kid's like, Michael Myers doesn't kill kids, he kills babysitters.
Yeah.
Boom, Michael Myers kills this kid. They blame Corey Cunningham for it. You know, then you have like, you know, Michael's still out there. Michael's still killing people. And then you have like Laurie and like Allison kind of have their same dynamic with Corey, but then you just don't go have him do all this other dumb shit. Like, you don't have him going out and trying to be that copy killer or being Robin to Michael Myers Batman.
Yeah.
Or
That's
like,
what this was. Robin
like,
to Michael Myers Batman.
it starts out like we mentioned before. He's getting bullied by everybody. Laurie helps him out, kind of is there to comfort him. He fucks himself up, so she obviously takes him to like the doctors where Allison works. They bandage him up. They meet each other, and a lot of people hate kind of their dynamic, like their relationship. I definitely think that it seems like they have too strong of a relationship for being together like 3 days or 2 days before Halloween. Like, it seems like they've been together for over like a year at that point. Like, they're arguing like a couple that's been together for a long time.
They like just met.
They just met,
just
and
met.
they're sitting here like, I'm not your project to fix or like
What?
like what? But I am kind of a sucker for like kind of like those movies where it's like a couple get together and the world's out to get them and they're just rebelling, like fuck the system, burn it down. And like, I'm kind of a sucker for that. So that with some of the cool synthy like pop music that's in the background during some like the motorcycle riding scenes and stuff, it worked for me. I kind of liked their relationship for a moment. That's why like the first half of the movie, I was like, okay, I have an open mind. Because I already knew people hated this movie. I knew it was going to be divisive. So I definitely try to go in with more of an open mind. And it worked for the most part for the first half, up until everything with Michael Myers, where Corey Cunningham is like, dealing with.
I was
Michael
with
Myers.
it too. Unfortunately, the end ruins the beginning though, because I was with the relationship too. I like those kind of stories. I thought, even though it was a little forced, I thought them pairing together was natural. I was like, this makes sense. Jamie Lee Curtis got it. But then, like you said, man, he gets thrown over that balcony by these kids.
Yeah. Which, like, man, he should have just fucked all these kids up. Like, he could have, like, easily. He's bigger than all of them, pretty much.
And then, why does he even, oh no, he gets dragged in the hole. He gets dragged in the hole.
And it's like, why would Michael drag him in the hole to begin with?
But not kill him. But not kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Michael somehow has mercy now.
Well, here's the part where they don't explain anything. And I kind of figured this out a little bit after my second rewatch, and you could kind of see it after his first kill. Now, I can't explain what happens here at this part because, like, he wakes up and as he's like, he goes to go out the exit, Michael grabs him and they stare into each other's eyes, not romantically. My understanding of it is Michael kind of awakens the inner darkness in Corey, which kind of is kind of what Laurie talks about later in the movie whenever she meets him at that house, when he sleeps at that house. Where
Yeah.
she talks about they're like the two evils within people, like kind of the stuff that like people see, and then something that hides deep down, and then it comes out eventually that nobody sees or whatever. And my guess is something there, because whenever he stares into Michael's eyes, you see like a flashback of everything that he went through up to that point, even like killing the kid and everything. And I guess is that kind of like awakens the beast in him, kind of like. And as far as Michael all these years, and they mentioned this is kind of a continuation from Kills, and they don't mention this either, and you had to have watched the other ones. Laurie has that throwaway line in the second one of saying like Michael, when every time Michael kills, he transcends. So pretty much 4 years of not killing people after that huge murder spree, he's losing all of his juice. He's losing all of his fucking power. Pretty much, even though David Gordon Green himself says Michael's not supernatural, this motherfucker is supernatural. Like look at it. He's like an old 70-year-old man. He's like limping. He could barely hold his arm up. Like he's weak at this point. And I don't know if you noticed, there is a couple billboards in the background of like missing people every so often.
I saw that. I figured he's been killing and like hobos and stuff.
I feel like he's been killing just enough to keep him alive, but he's still super weak. So that's why he kind of uses Corey to at first attract people in there so he can kill. And that's why whenever he gets like Allison's like 40-something-year-old ex-boyfriend, for some reason she has daddy issues, which makes sense. Her dad was killed in like one of the other two sequels. She's got a little daddy issues. She goes out with an older dude, but of course has that falling out with Corey, because Corey at that point is just like, this is Christine. This movie has Christine written all over. I don't know if it's been a while since you've seen Christine.
I've seen Christine. Yeah.
That's pretty much Corey Cunningham is, and it even has the same last name. I forget the dude's first name in Christine, but his last name is Cunningham in that movie. But that kid in Christine, he gets the car is killing people. He all of a sudden gets confidence. He becomes that cool guy, and then he becomes kind of a dickhead. And this one, it's Michael's Christine. Michael's the car. And Corey, he loses his glasses. He's got confidence now. He stands up for himself. It's very much Christine in this aspect as far as a character. It's pretty much kind of a stolen character from one movie into another one.
No, it's homage probably.
It's I don't know if it's homage, man. That's like kind of copying at this point.
Now, and I know you're trying to keep an open mind, man, but come on.
I'm just trying to explain it. That's why I'm just trying to figure it out.
This is the dumbest shit. Like, I never sat down and thought about Michael Myers and like, let's make him. And I know he's not technically transferring the evil, but like, we're talking about all these like, it's two sides of every, like, this was a story about a serial killer in the beginning, just like and that's what people loved about it. Mm-hmm. And then it went off the fucking rails with the Thorn sequels, and people hated it.
Yeah.
So Cunningham or David Green or whatever this guy's name is was like, I'm getting rid of all that shit. We're bringing it back. He's just a serial, and then he fucking still does it.
Yeah.
He can't help himself.
So a majority of this movie is at first is Corey bringing him like victims to kill to gain, because as soon as he brings that old, the cop, I like part of the scene and I don't. And there's something in this, I don't know if you noticed this either, as the cop's walking through the like that little sewer area, he holds his flashlight, and on that wall there's clearly a Michael Myers mask imprinted in the wall. I don't know.
Like a face, like a carved or something. I did see
like
that.
The side of his mask, it looks like, but it's carved in the wall. No explanation. He just like points at it, and it looks like it's just kind of like in the rock. And I was like, what does that have to do?
It's just been whittling down there.
Maybe. It's so weird, man, because he like attacks the dude and holds him for Michael to kill. He's like, do it, kill him. Like, and Michael, as soon as he starts like stabbing him, he's kind of like rejuvenates a little bit. He gets a little looser. Like he starts like getting his power back a little bit. And that's pretty much from there. Like they start working together at that point, so Michael can get his powers up so he can go and face Laurie, which doesn't really matter because it's a quick fight and she overpowers him pretty much.
He doesn't kill anybody else though, right? Because the kid kills the bum, which I don't understand. I mean, the bum was like in his face.
Leaves. Like after when he first runs into Michael, he goes out. The bum runs into him and tries to kill him with his own knife, and then he kills him. And that leads to a weird scene when he like meets up with Allison the next time, and he's like, he's like, I killed someone.
And she's
like
cool
there's
with it.
and then they just start talking after that. But it's like, I think she thinks like, yeah, I know you killed that kid, like, but he's talking
Oh, yeah.
about, oh yeah, I just killed somebody.
Like,
like
I just did
I
it.
just killed somebody, but she doesn't
Oh,
know that.
and a positive here. One of my favorite scenes though is when they're on the radio tower, and I just love the lighting. They've got the music
That
playing. That was
music,
it was
that's
a
what I'm
cool
saying.
scene.
Yeah, the
But
music in it was great. I
music in
really
it was
liked the
great.
music, and because it fit with a lot of what was going on, and it wasn't not just like the Carpenter score. The Carpenter score is good in it too, but some of the actual like music they use in it, like some of the synthy poppy stuff, I think it fit really well with, and it's kind of dark and like atmospheric. But yeah, that scene particularly was really really well done with them on the rooftop of that radio
Yeah.
station, and they're just talking about like, we just got to get the hell out of here, burn it down.
And
Like,
then I this is another confusing part of me, and I kind of brought it up earlier about how the sister motif, where it was like Laurie's to where did this Laurie's to blame thing come from? Two people said
it
it in the
doesn't make
movie.
sense.
Yeah, like
She didn't
the
let him
lady,
out.
yeah, the lady outside that gets her throat slit, which I like that they brought her back.
She shouldn't have. Listen, I I don't even understand why they brought this lady. Should have been dead. She got
For
stabbed
sure.
in the throat with an
Throat.
electric bulb, like a glass bulb, dude, and she
Yeah.
was sitting there bleeding out. Who knows when the cops came? Like,
Apparently very quickly.
how is she alive? Because she sat there bleeding out while her husband was getting stabbed. Like,
And they blame Laurie though. They're like, you did this. And then
Yeah.
the scene we were just talking about with the guy, the radio who cost him, he says about Laurie teasing Michael, and I'm like, fucking when?
Yeah.
When did she tease Michael?
She never. She didn't even see him. Like,
Yeah,
she knew
didn't go
about
visit him.
Yeah, nothing like that. And and that the Dr. Sartain dude from the Halloween 2018, he's the one that even took Michael to her. He wasn't even after Laurie originally. So it's like,
I didn't
none
get
of this
that.
is her fault. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand that either, man. Like, that was so weird. Not only just to bring her back because she shouldn't have been brought back, and they do that at the very end too. They bring characters back from the other movies, and I was like, oh my god. Like,
We'll get to the end.
I
I'll get
hate
there.
the ending of this movie, and we're gonna get to it.
We'll get there.
But we
Me
gotta get
too.
to the other bullshit first.
Yeah.
But I did.
Well, we're
like
getting to
the-
a good part. We are getting to a
I
good
like
part.
the Corey and Allison thing.
Yeah.
They go to that Halloween party, and that's another character that they should have used. Kyle Richards, who played Lindsay Wallace, who was in the last one. She survived. She's
yes.
in this, but she's barely used. She's just
Yeah.
Laurie and Allison's friend that works at the bar and hangs out with them sometimes.
Yeah.
But I kind of like that scene at that bar where he finally kind of gets to let loose. He never really got to go out and have fun, after everything that happened with the kid. He's been kind of, and the way that his parents are, where you see his parents, like his
mom's weird,
and she's a mess. But he finally gets to kind of go out and cut loose. Unfortunately, it was at the wrong bar because, man, when he goes to get a drink, he meets up with the mom of that kid he killed. Man, bad timing. Come on.
And here's another weird thing. They move out of the house, but they don't move out of the town.
Yeah.
They're like, we just need a couple houses over, like you'd still see things that remind you of your kids all the time.
My thought is they got divorced because you see her there, and then later in the movie you see Laurie talking with the husband, with the other dude. So maybe, but this is the thing. They don't explain any of this shit. They just kind of throw it in there. But I agree. Even with Laurie and Allison, why the fuck are you still living in Haddonfield? Get out of here. Bro.
I mean, that's a whole nother complaint.
Get out. Come on now.
They do say a throwaway line. Allison says something about it, but something stupid that doesn't matter because later she's like, let's get out of here. Like, literally, like 2 scenes next. She's like, okay, we can leave now. And I'm like,
yeah.
That was fucking pointless conversation.
And it was the same thing, like, the fighting, because I like that scene though where he like runs into her and she starts fucking freaking out on him and he pieces, and then he's like getting mad at Allison. He's like, where were you? And he's like, dude, you walked away from her. You're the one that went to the bar. You think she was just gonna follow you? Come on now you're being a little ridiculous. Yeah. That's where you're getting the fighting where it's like, you guys just met like a day ago or that morning. Like, how the hell are you fighting already?
And this is where he gets jumped by the bullies, right?
Or that's where he gets jumped by the bullies after that and everything, and go into already what we already talked about.
Yeah.
And then he leads like the cop down there after that other meeting with Allison.
He meets back up with Allison. They go to a diner. He picks on him in the diner.
Yeah, he gets the cop killed. After that, the job that Allison was going for was given to this other chick because she was sleeping with the boss. And then that's where you get the kill with the boss, the doctor, and the
Her.
chick, yeah, the girl.
Yeah. He's wearing like the clown mask.
Yeah, like the
Or the
scarecrow
scarecrow
mask.
mask.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is the Batman and Robin kill in the movie, which I kind of like the setup for it, but I just didn't like the execution, like with the Michael Myers stuff. But I thought it was kind of creepy, like how they set it up, and like you hear the glass breaking or outside, and she goes out, and it's like she turns on the light, and he's just sitting there with that bag over his head, just stabbing the shit out of him.
Yeah.
I was like, that was kind of a cool scene, like where he's wearing the scarecrow mask and everything. I thought,
and
that
he
was
just
kinda
looks
cool.
up. I did think that was cool.
And he loses it too. He starts like freaking out and like banging on the glass. Like he's not cool. He's and Michael has to show him how to get it done. He's like, man,
Yeah.
you gotta stay cool, man. You
Yeah,
can't be losing your
cool.
cool.
Gotta be cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah, he just picks her up by the throat, slams her up the wall, and pins her there. This is being made into a meme all over the place because immediately after Michael kills that chick, it cuts to Corey riding on his motorcycle with Allison's arm around him, and it's like people are thinking that it's Michael. It's like that's how they get around is Michael on the back of his motorcycle.
And then he goes down and gets the mask, right? Which doesn't make any goddamn sense either.
Yeah, I forget. That's after he like goes home and like his mom like freaks out on him and slaps the shit out of him, and then he leaves and he goes. He's like, "Give me that goddamn mask, Michael!" And like, bro, he just straight up punks Michael out. That's probably the worst scene of the whole movie for me. I was like, you just treated Michael like a bitch, dude. He went in there and just wrestled with him to get his mask.
And there's no like lead up to it because you're right. There's like this Batman and Robin dynamic where I'm like, okay, these guys are going to kind of help each other.
Yeah.
But then he's like, no, I'm the new Michael Myers. Fuck you. You know, like I'm just doing it. Yeah. And like, where did that come from?
Michael,
and if they wanted to do, and I know this is me writing my own story, but if they wanted to do like a psychological passing on the torch, why didn't they just make Michael a character like he was hiding in plain sight and he actually like talks to this kid? Like it's an old man who's like talking this kid through it. And then like later you learn like, no, that's been Michael Myers the whole time, you know? And then he like gives him the mask or whatever has to happen, you know?
You could have found some way around it. Like,
yeah. And I'm not saying that's a good
or something. Yeah.
That's not a good story. I'm not saying that, but that's better than him going and getting punked by this bitch kid, you know?
Exactly.
Like it's gotta be. I do like this is the end.
Yeah.
This is
they're gonna be starting fresh from
that dude's fucking dead, you know, like he ain't coming back.
His fucking chunks like come together like the Blob or something.
Yeah. At this point, why not?
The other part of the story, which we haven't talked about yet, is Laurie's, and I kind of really like Laurie in this movie because even though how I complained about she kind of does a 180 as a character where she doesn't act like that battle-tested badass that we saw in these past two movies. She's kind of back to what we saw of her in the original 1978 Halloween. She's back to being her old self. She can be herself now. And it was kind of refreshing to see her like that again in this type of movie. And man, that supermarket scene between her and Hawkins is adorable. I love that scene. Where he's just like, I like your face or whatever. Like, it was good to see your face.
It was good to see your face. I mean, I like seeing your face.
She's so nervous, like trying to flirt with him. And they're like, I don't know. I just love that dynamic between them. Like they should have been together, like in this movie, especially after the bond they had in that last one. Man, we should have had more Hawkins and Laurie in this one because I really like that dynamic between them and like that cherry blossom line that he has that keeps coming up throughout the rest of the movie. I thought that was kind of neat. Like
that's what this movie should have been about. This whole movie should have been about Laurie and Michael and Hawkins and the granddaughter. We didn't need this new character. We did not need him at all.
Not at all.
Like, and I'm getting frustrated. Like, we watched years. We waited for it, and like they just fucked us, man. Like, this could have been so much better than it was.
And with Laurie's side, she helps bring Corey and introduces her to Allison, and then like right after, you know, Corey has his shit with Michael, Laurie immediately knows. She she sees it in his eyes. She's like, that's not the same kid I met 2 days ago or a day ago. Like there's something different. And she even tries to tell like Allison that, but she knew it as soon as he pulled up to that house. She looked out the window and he was standing there outside the right next to the bushes like Michael.
I've seen this scene.
This looks familiar. This ain't right.
Anybody who stands near a bush has got to be a serial killer.
To even reaffirm it, she even went to like the bar, like we mentioned before, and they even talk with the father of the kid that Corey ended up killing a couple years back, and the father was like, I understood like what happened. He's like, it's an accident. Like, I wasn't holding it against him. He even said like I was pissed off that the town kind of treated him the way that they did, because he's like, I know that's not him. But he's
Yeah.
like, I pulled up he's like, I felt bad. I went to talk to him the other day. I saw him walking. He's like, but man, when I saw him, that was not the same kid. He's like, that the person I saw was capable of what happened. Like, not the original kid that I knew growing up.
Yeah.
So it's like that even reaffirmed it for Laurie at that point. And this is the other thing, is like she even confronts Allison, and Allison doesn't believe her. It's like, Laurie's been right about everything so far, man. Like, come on. Like,
oh, there's a scene later where Allison is like, why would you do that, Graham? I'm like, bitch, you have seen what this woman has been through. Why would you think she's a killer now? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
This guy is dressed in a fucking jumpsuit, and you think your grandma did it?
Well, he is a mechanic. Well, that's probably the reason they do that. But we're gonna get to that, because I full-heartedly agree with you on that
like,
part.
what the fuck? And it didn't matter. She comes back in 2 scenes. But anyway,
I kind of like the other scene with Laurie, that because you only get so many scenes with Laurie, even though this is her final movie. Is whenever like he gets kicked out of his house, and he goes and he sleeps in that house where he ended up killing that kid, because like you mentioned, the parents seem like they divorced, they moved out.
Right on the bloodstain.
He sleeps, like right on the bloodstain, which is odd. But he wakes up and Laurie is just kind of just chilling there, like just kind of waiting, and she has her whole spiel about evil and whatnot. And this dude got some balls, bro. This dude got some balls, because he's like, she's mine, leave her alone. Like,
if you can't have her, no one will. He says like, if you can't have her, no one will.
Yeah, he's like, just give in. He's like, this is the best. He's like, if I can't have her, no one will. He's like, bro, you just met this chick 2 days ago, 3 days ago, or whatever. Like, I don't think her grandmother, who's been through all this shit, she fought Michael Myers, I don't think she's just gonna, stand down. Come on now, dude.
She's like, oh, you got me.
Yeah, and that the part, I kind of like that scene a little bit. But I did like the part where like he's looking away and he's talking and he looks back and she's just gone out through that window.
Now she's Batman.
She's Batman. Yeah, she's Michael Myers. Corey goes in the house with what's her name? And they end up fucking at that point.
Oh yeah, with Allison.
Yeah, with Allison. He takes her and he goes into the house with her, and they go up to her room and they end up doing it. And Laurie gets home and she sees them going upstairs, so she just like kind of stays outside. And then you get that brief scene of Michael standing behind the tree looking at her. And then he turns around and walks away.
Maybe
but it's like, at that point, why isn't Michael just going around murdering people and getting his strength up? You would think.
Because again, we've made this movie not about him being a serial killer. Now he's just after Laurie. Yeah, that's all he cares about.
Exactly.
Because it's his sister again.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be. That's why I thought we cut.
Other than at the very end of Halloween 2018, he's not after Laurie and kills at all. He just wants to go back to his house. So why all of a sudden after he leaves is he wants to go after Laurie now? Like, it just... And
I even felt like, and listen, to their credit, maybe he's just like holding a grudge, but I even felt like in 18 he wasn't after Laurie.
No,
I felt like he just saw her.
Of saying that. Yeah,
I felt like he just saw her.
Him to her.
Yeah, and then he was like, ooh, that bitch. I remember you, And that's how I felt this was going. But now he's like so obsessed with her. He's been sitting for 4 years just waiting to come back at her again.
It's just, they're just terrible writing, man. Because like he's strong enough to walk from the sewer to her house, and then he just goes back to the sewer. He doesn't go around trying to like kill other people. Like, what the fuck? At this point, this is where Corey's walking around as Michael. We get a Friday the 13th Part 5 type Jason thing here. And this is where he pretty much just gets revenge on his bullies, on those band geeks.
Leads him into the junkyard. Yeah. Which is a cool scene.
The dude's car leads him into the junkyard. His dad, I guess it's his dad. Is like the only like nice guy, like new character. You feel bad for him because even after like his mom slaps him or whatever, he's like, I hope you find love.
I hope you find love. He's a nice guy.
And he's just sitting in his office watching movies while this is happening, like Corey murdering all these kids. You mentioned like about the kills. I wasn't impressed with these kills really, other than like the one where they really show you. They cut away from most of them. I feel like you don't really get to see too many kills compared to like 2018, and especially kills.
Kills is the most brutal for sure.
Yeah, you don't really get much in this. You get a couple kills, but you don't really see too much.
We're gonna get into the radio, but the two of the radio kills are some of my favorite kills. I really liked those.
Yeah, but like the band geeks, he like lures in, he like stabs the one in the eye. You don't see that one. He runs the other one down with his truck, and she's like held on the ground by the fence that he runs over, which is kind of a neat
Everybody
idea.
Keeps trying to help him. Like, no, stop.
Yeah, and like he comes out and he fucks that one chick up with the wrench. His dad comes out because the one kid goes running to him. He comes out with like the gun and everything. Shoots fucking Corey's like dad in the head by accident.
Yeah, he stands right up dumbly. Like,
I kind of like that cut though. It doesn't make sense though. Like, did he get out with the mask on and then he took it off just to stand there holding the mask? Like, it was a weird thing to do because he wasn't holding the mask when he got out of the truck. Pretty much seems like he's wearing it, and then that cut of when his dad sits up, he's sitting there just holding the mask in his hand. But I like the cut where his dad gets shot, and when his body drops, Corey's gone, and I kind of like that shot, like a disappearing act type thing.
Yeah.
I wish they wouldn't have fucking cut away from it, man. Like that blowtorch to his mouth and shit.
Yeah, to his mouth. That was cool.
That was a cool kill. And then he just stomps the fucking chick's head in pretty much with his boot.
Yeah, which we've already seen that.
Yeah, and then he immediately drives off to that radio station to fucking kill those people and burn it down. But yeah, like you get Darcy the mail girl from...
That's what I was going to say. I was like, that's Darcy from Joe Bob Briggs.
Yeah, you get Darcy.
I had that written in my notes. I was super excited that it was Darcy.
Yeah, it was cool seeing her in there, though.
I don't know why she's in it, but that's cool.
Yeah, I wish you would have got to see her kill other than just like in the background. You get her kind of seen thrown around a little bit. The DJ kind of had it coming. He was a dickhead.
He was a dickhead.
He was a dickhead. But he has easily like the most gnarly kill of the movie, though. He gets his head bashed in and his fucking tongue cut out with a pair of scissors.
Yeah, with scissors. Oh, God, yeah. I was like, ooh, gross.
And the tongue's just sitting there going around on the record.
On the turn, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he like burns the place down, like the thing's on fire. But this is where you get kind of final confrontation at this point.
Yeah, he goes to Laurie.
Yeah, and this is very weird. And my guess is Laurie knew that she was being stalked this whole time. Corey must not be a very good hunter because Laurie seems like she knew that he was onto her this whole time.
Or Laurie's just a better hunter.
Well, yeah. Well, she goes into a whole like she deserves an Oscar for this one. She fucking was up in her room like, I would like to report a suicide and like talking about like the whole speech and everything. Like she was gonna. You actually think for a minute? I was like, no way they're gonna have her fucking kill herself. Like why? A,
I knew she didn't fight Michael yet, and B, I was like, what? Like, at what point? She just said, stay away from, like, the last time we saw her, she was like, stay away from her, but I'm going to kill myself and then, like, not be able to, like, get the fuck out of here.
But she, like, shoots, and then you see, like, the hand opening up the door and everything, and she shoots, and it looks like the brains go all over the wall or whatever, but she's like, you really think I would fucking kill myself?
Yeah, she hits the pumpkin.
Yeah, she puts, like, 3 shots in him right away, and he falls right off that fucking, and that was pretty anticlimactic, like, right away. It's like, bang,
I thought
bang.
there was going to be a little chase, and nope. Easy.
She goes down there and she's like pulls like the whole Stan's dad, Randy Marsh, like, bring it on, bro. Come on, fucking fight me, man. Like shoots the rest of the bullets out. She's like, come on, bring it, bitch. Let's go. You want to kill me? Fucking kill me.
Yeah, dumb again, but yeah.
Yeah, and then Allison starts coming in and he's like, oh, if I can't have you, no one will. And he thinks that he has one up on her because he kills himself and makes it look like she did it. Because he went out and told Allison, your grandmother threatened to kill me if I didn't leave you alone or whatever. And just like you said, this motherfucker is wearing his jumpsuit with the Myers mask right beside him. Bruh, like, how can Allison not look at that and be like, oh, yeah, he came in here to try to fucking kill my grandmother. Like,
let me listen to my grandma who's been saving my ass for the last few years and takes care of me. No. I should side on this guy that I met 4 days ago.
Hasn't murdered anybody for like, that hasn't had a good reason. Yeah, exactly.
At this point in this story, she hasn't killed anybody.
Yeah,
because we've retconned everything. So she didn't chop the guy's head off or anything. She's killed nobody at this point.
She's tried to kill Michael and Michael only.
Oh, yeah, in self-defense. That's it.
There's no priors in this. You have no reason to believe that she would just kill this dude just because he doesn't like him. Yeah, exactly. Like, come on now. Like, and you have that's the other thing. Why wasn't Laurie like, how the fuck did you get that mask? Like, where did that come from? like, no, I want to know how you got that mask. She didn't even try to explain really herself. I mean, Allison was freaking out, but she could have been like, look at the mask. Like, come on.
Hey, dummy.
Look at the mask.
Here's like, your context clues.
Hysterical fucking pieces. And for some reason, Michael shows up.
Does he just pick the mask up? I don't maybe I just
because she's just like, Laurie's like she's so depressed now because Allison thinks she killed her boyfriend. She's crying, and that's when like she like looks. She's up against the wall, and she looks over, and the kitchen door is open, like the back door is open to her house. Where immediately I would have been like, okay, that's where Corey came through. That's how he got in the house. But immediately she's like, Michael's here. He comes in, picks up the mask, and puts it on, and then you have the final confrontation where she's like hiding in that closet for a minute. She puts that TV dinner in the microwave for too long, so it explodes to distract him. You know, that was good planning on her part.
This was cool though. I liked this. I liked the fight. I thought this was pretty well choreographed.
I didn't because they put everything in this fight in the trailer.
I didn't watch the trailer, though.
Well, that's the thing. They show you pretty much, and that's what people were bitching about this whole time, is like, they better not have put this final confrontation in the trailer, because they show you almost everything. Like him trying to put her hand down through the garbage disposal, to her like pinning him on the table and everything. Like, you see most of that fight in the trailer, and people are like, they're gonna fight multiple times. Don't worry about it. Like, this isn't all we're gonna get. Sure enough, this is all we fucking get, and like you put it in the trailer. Like, it's so disappointing. And it doesn't last nearly long enough either. I don't think it should have lasted like a kind of a chase through the house, like a cat and mouse type thing. You know,
I think it should have been the whole fucking movie.
Listen, I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah,
man.
like, what are we talking about? I did like, though. I don't know if they showed in the trailer. I did like when he rips the knife, like she's got a pin, and he rips his hand through, and he grabs her by the
and his
throat.
hand split in half.
Yeah, and his hand split in half. I was like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
like he's like, I'm gonna get you, bitch.
But it was kind of, but yeah, she like pins him there. She like stabs his arm down so he can't pull it out.
Yeah.
She pushes the fridge on top of him so he can't fucking move his legs and shit. Like, she got him. She fucking got him, man.
And then she kills him grossly, though. She like slits his wrist.
Well, yeah, she slits his throat at first. She slits his throat and it starts like coming out. And then she like pulls off his mask. I think they showed a little too much of his face. Like, they've shown it a little bit through the course of these movies, but I think they kind of showed a little too much. Like,
I was
weird
actually
seeing
okay
the
with that.
Amish beard, like the thin Amish beard. I was like, I don't know.
He's
I like
old
the
now.
cool fucked up part of the face, but like the weird beard and stuff, I was like, I don't know.
I wasn't too bad with this one. Allison comes back, by the way. She just ran away far enough for her mother or for her grandmother to get her ass whooped.
Well, she drove down the road, saw the tower burning, and then on the radio, she gets the call from Hawkins saying like, "Is Laurie okay? We got a call about a suicide." And that's whenever she turns around. This is my biggest fucking issue. One of my biggest issues at this. I mean, this whole ending is a fucking mess. But as she's like, she slits his throat, pulls off his mask. Like you said, he rips his hand out of the fucking knife and grabs her by the throat. And you get that stupid fucking flashback. Like, kind of the similar thing to like where he grabbed Corey, where he grabs Laurie. She sees everything that's happened to her up to this point.
Yeah.
And then she fucking says, "Do it." She's like, "Kill me, Michael. Do it." And I was like, why? What?
You got him.
You got him. And not only that, you've waited 40 years. You've wanted to kill this dude the whole time. He killed your daughter. He tried to he pretty much killed everybody you loved except your granddaughter. And you're just going to be like, you're fine with just him letting you like kill you? Like, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
And you just said like 5 minutes before this, you really think I'd kill myself? Like,
exactly. Now I'm cool with that.
Now she's cool with letting Michael kill her. Like, come on.
Yin and yang over here.
Like, dude,
she transferred the evil into her.
Oh my god, dude, it was so dumb. And and then you get like Allison comes in, and like she fucks him. She breaks his arm in half.
Oh yeah, which was cool.
And then like you said, she takes that knife and just slides it down his wrist, and they do a great job of making it look real, because it makes that knife look so fucking sharp, and how much like how easily it cuts on his skin, and the blood just starts leaking out. I think they did Christopher Nelson did a great job with the effects in all of these movies.
I like that, but to your point where like she has been chasing this dude for years, he killed it. I just wanted her to be more angry when she killed him. Like, I felt like she was just like. Like, I wanted to stab him in the fucking forehead, dude. Like
when she first got on top of him and she stabbed him like to pin him on the table, I thought she was just gonna keep like fucking stabbing him. Like, that's what they should have.
I wanted anger out of her. But, like, she was so calm about it. She was just calm about the whole thing. I was like, ugh.
It seemed too like nice. It seemed like too kind of a peaceful way to kill Michael, where it's like he's killed everybody you've known and loved at this point. murder the shit out of him.
Yeah,
Like,
stab this dude in the forehead,
Allison
right
and
in
her
the
shit
fucking
just
face.
sat there and just fucking kept stabbing the shit out of him. But yeah,
I'd
she like
have
stabbed
had
him.
him start trying to take his mask off, and don't even let him. Like, I don't want to see your fucking face. And just put the knife right in his goddamn forehead.
But yeah, like all they do, she stabbed him in like the armpit first. They pinned him on the ground. She slit his throat. She slit his wrists, and then like Hawkins comes in, and this is like the only real thing that he has to do in the movie other than flirt with Laurie. And he's like, "Oh, he's dead," and she's like, and Allison's like, "Not dead enough."
Oh
And
my
I was,
God.
and bro, at this point in the movie when they show this next part, I was like, okay, we're just going just bananas at this point,
This
right?
is
This is just
stupid.
they're just like, oh, what can we do at the end of this movie? They
He's
get
like,
the whole town. They put an APB out for the whole town to show up to watch the killing of Michael Myers. How in the world, within a course of a couple minutes, did they just manage to call everybody in this fucking town, get them to drive in a single file line? We're just gonna go have a huge funeral, having like
a single file line to the place where the dude just killed like 5 people, by the way. Which
yeah,
those
nobody,
bodies were gone.
yeah,
By
they
the
were
way.
gone. Nobody knew.
They drove right in the front entrance. Those were fucking gone.
Yeah, no destruction, no nothing. They somehow they knew about that. They cleaned all that scene up at that point. Apparently,
Yeah.
before they even do what we're gonna get to, I was already like, I'm already further out than I have been at this point. I hated what like that whole third act of them, like the fight between her and Corey, and then the fight with Michael, and then that scene where they fucking take him out and strap him to the hood of the car. And they just drive him to the. I was out at first because they had him tied up. I was like, are they just gonna like tie him to different things and rip his limbs off, like rip him apart? I thought that's what was gonna happen at first because they had him.
Dude, I
tied
thought
up.
for a second we were gonna have a repeat of Halloween Kills. I was like, is this still gonna get the fuck back up again?
Just kill the whole.
I
That's
was
how
like-
the movie ends. He literally kills the population of Haddonfield at the end of
It's
the
just like-
movie. And that maybe would have been better at this
Maybe.
point. That would have maybe redeemed it at this point. But man, they fucking have a big, huge funeral procession of the whole town. People are like lined up around the bridges, like cheering them on as the cars are driving through.
All it was doing was bringing back Evil Dies Tonight. That's all this was doing.
And they don't
was
even
just,
say it.
They never say.
They don't even fucking say it. Like, out of all
Because
the
we
places
hated
you
it.
have to say this shit, now's the time. Now's the time when you fucking putting them in the fucking grinder. Evil Dies Tonight. That if you're gonna do it, that's the point. That's where you.
Laurie could have said it. What did she even go? Did she go off with something cool when she pushes him?
Nope.
What did she say?
She just
Just
fucking
pushes him?
him in the fucking.
She could have said Evil Dies Tonight.
She could have said it.
Yeah, just pushed him in.
I would have been okay with it there. She's like, Evil
Yeah.
Dies Tonight.
She should have held up a gun and said,
Or the even
Wolverines!
better one, Trick or Treat, motherfucker, and then pushes like, bro, Busta Rhymes his ass right into that grinder.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Like that would have been the best one. And they like crowd surf him, his body to the incinerator, and like I thought he was gonna like grab Laurie too, like because she
me
jumps
too.
up in there with him and kicks him in. I thought he was gonna grab her and try to pull her down with him. Nope.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a gory, cool scene though of them pushing him in. His body's getting grinded up and the blood splattering everywhere. But
The only thing I like is they did end. He's not coming back.
Oh, no.
That fucker's dead.
yeah, they're not coming back from this one. He's
Yeah.
straight up dead. There's no way to come back from this. I did not think that's how they were going to kill him at all. So they kind of went and went the opposite direction. I think that part kind of worked. They just needed a different way to get there.
Oh, it could have been him and her fighting in that junkyard. Or she could have had a wood chipper in her backyard you could have set up earlier and she could have threw him in a wood chipper. Like,
or just chop his limbs off. I would have been okay, even if you tried to recreate the H2O ending in a way where you chop his head off. You could have
Yeah.
did it in a different way, but it still would have worked. I think, like, you could have done something else. But man, just that whole ending is garbage to me. Like, it's so fitting that it was ended in a dump because it was garbage.
it was a garbage ending. Like, I know you are angry. It's just so stupid. Like, you
It
gotta
is.
watch it to see how stupid it is.
I totally
Like,
agree.
you're like, what the fuck is going on? They're like just carrying him. And I'm like, Laurie deserved to be so much angrier than that, dude.
Yep,
I
and
think
she
she
was
should have
just okay with it.
beat his face into a fucking pulp. Like I said, I'd have stabbed him and I just kept stabbing him.
I
Like,
would have too, man.
and you could have showed it. That could have been the bloody scene of just Laurie fucking this dude's face up. Don't make it like a bullet wound where you're like, oh, he might have lived that. Like, make her stab him in the face so many goddamn times that it's just like a pulpy mess, you
Because then it would
know?
have justified cutting away from some of these other kills and not showing them throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Because you get one big scene and hurt them just fucking Michael up, and it would have
Yeah.
been awesome. You would have been cheering her on, like, yes, like this is what it was all for. Yeah.
This is where you could have had flashbacks too. You could have flashbacked all the people he
While
fucking
she
killed
was
in her
fucking
life
stabbing
as she's
him.
fucking doing it, you know? I mean, that'd have maybe been a little
Exactly.
cheesy, but less dumb.
It would have been less dumb, but I am right there with you. I think it would have worked. Like,
Yeah.
as she's stabbing the shit out of him, have like some shit flashing while it's going on, cutting in between those flashes, her stabbing, and then what she's stabbing, like his face or whatever.
Just
like
going more and more into a pulp every time you come back to
that
it,
would
you
have been
know?
awesome. And then
Much
like,
better.
You could still had like the ending they have on tact at the end, but even
No, I don't want that bullshit. I hate that bullshit.
no, I'm not saying about like the garbage stuff. I'm saying like
Oh.
where she's at her house finishing up her book. Hawkins comes over, like, you know, they're
Yeah.
flirting still. Like she's like, well, would take you up on that offer of going to see like the
Cherry blossom.
Yeah, the cherry blossoms, whatever. You still could have had that or whatever. At the very end of the movie, that's what I just mentioned. Like, she comes out and they talk with Hawkins. It seems like they're finally gonna kind of get together. Allison decides to leave. She packs up and leaves. She's going to move somewhere else, start a new life. And I like that final shot where, because it mirrors the very end of the original Halloween from '78. It's just kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, where at the end of Halloween '78, when Michael disappears, they cut to the different shots of like the living room, the outside of the house, down the street, and then the final shot is like the Myers house.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, you kind of get a refreshing take on it, where like the original one with all those shots, you're like, oh, the boogeyman's still out there. He could be anywhere. Whereas like at the end of this one, it's kind of a very peaceful, quiet, like the evil's gone type thing. Like she's finally rid of everything, and it's all very bright and it's sunlit, different like parts of her house. And then you had to have that fucking last shot of the of the Michael mask sitting on her table, where it's like, why would she keep that? Why wouldn't they have just thrown that in the grinder with him? Like, why would she want to be constantly reminded of him by keeping that mask? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Again, could have been a cool one line. Like her throwing that mask in the grinder even would have been more scintillating than her just kicking him in there, saying nothing, you know?
And then just have the final shot of her living room with the mask sitting on the table. It's like, why would she even keep that at that point? I like the song choice. I like "Don't Fear the Reaper" coming at the end, but I didn't like her having the mask at all either. And we're not done yet, because as it was finished, before they were, wrapping up, they were having test screenings. They have another ending for this movie. They had filmed, and apparently during the test screenings, they showed both of them, and just to kind of gauge which one people liked best.
All right.
And I'm really glad, even though I hated this ending, I'm glad they went with this one over the last one.
What's the other one?
They didn't go into detail what it is, just kind of a broad explanation. Sure. Corey lives. Corey is still alive. So it's kind of insinuated if they wanted to continue with it, Corey would be Michael Myers.
Yeah, he's the new Myers.
There's also, apparently there's a couple different versions of like what their ending wanted to be or what they wanted to do with it. There's another version where Corey kind of regrets what he did and kind of like comes to terms with what he did and kind of gives himself up. And that was another version of it. Main ending that they apparently filmed and they decided not to include in this one was whenever he grabs Laurie there at the very end, like Michael, before they kill him, like whenever she gives herself up and you see that flashing, does exactly what you mentioned. It transfers his shit pretty much into Laurie. They kill him pretty much the same way. They throw him in like the grinder and everything. Very end of the movie, in that scene where like she goes out and meets like Hawkins. That scene isn't in it, like with Hawkins. She's talking with Allison apparently, and she fucking apparently like starts feeling ill, I guess, and then she starts fucking trying to choke and kill Allison. And then she's like, "Get out. You gotta go. You gotta leave now," or whatever. And fucking Allison leaves and she slams the door shut. Credits. That's how it was going to end. Whereas like Laurie is turning into evil. Like the evil
The
within
Rob
her
Zombie
is
ending.
coming out, pretty much.
That's the Rob Zombie ending.
Pretty much.
With Laurie. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is.
Yeah,
Dude.
and
Like,
I'm
get the fuck out of
very
here.
glad that they didn't decide to go that route. And my guess is Jamie Lee Curtis was probably a big part of that, where she was like, "No,
Good.
fuck that."
Yeah. Like, are you... Man, I fucking hated this
I would have been
movie.
even more pissed if that would have happened.
Okay.
I hate the end of this movie. I liked the first half. I was kind of buying into what it was doing. I wanted to,
But it didn't do it.
exactly what I thought it was going to do. It didn't do what it did do. It didn't do well. And it was just terribly written as far as plot wise. It felt like a bunch of different ideas kind of thrown together into a hodgepodge, and that's what this movie came out to be. I liked, and I really liked certain aspects of it. But yeah, it just majority of it, it's just that, especially that third act, man, that from the middle where pretty much the Batman and Robin scene where
it's basically where you meet Michael for me. I think it goes down from there.
Really?
I don't mean to interrupt you, but like, how are you gonna have a Michael Myers movie with fucking, he's in it for minutes of this movie. Minutes.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of here, man. This is a spit in the face to Halloween fans for what this trilogy has set up. Which was good. It was good until now.
Yeah. They should have just kept it to one night. I know it would have been hard to stretch 3 movies to fit into one night, but I feel like it would have been better than what we got here.
I think they should have hunted Michael this one. This could have been the final, we're going to hunt this motherfucker down, put him on the defensive because he's usually on the offensive. Even that would have been a fresh take. They could have did something new where he's kind of just running from people and they're still chasing him,
Yeah.
Not saying it'd be better, but
and
it'd be fucking different.
In my like trailer breakdown, I even said like I hated the fucking idea of the copycat killer. I hated it. I hated the idea of it, but I would much rather have the copycat killer than what we had in even though this was a version of it, it wasn't a straight up, like he only wore it for a little bit. I think it would have worked out better if you did have just like a copycat killer through the most part for like maybe half of it. And then he ends up fucking running into Michael and one of it when he goes in to kill somebody and Michael ends up killing him or something, or he gets confused for Michael, or like, I don't know. I feel like that would have worked out better. Or like I mentioned a little earlier, have him being framed for that murder by Michael, and then it has something to do with that through the course of the movie. I don't know.
I'm with
anything
you, man.
I feel like would have been better than this, man.
This has got to be one of the worst Halloween films. Like, I understand Halloween Resurrection's not a good film, but at least it's laughably funny. It's rewatchable. Like, I can watch it because it's so bad it's good.
And that's why I always put it up above Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, is because at least at least if I watch Resurrection, which I normally don't, I can at least laugh at it and make fun of it. Whereas like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I don't have any enjoyment out of this movie. I don't like it. There's nothing about it that I like.
See, I gotta say this is down there, Rob Zombie's too. Even Rob Zombie, I'm not saying I like it. At least he had a clear vision and he stuck with that vision. Those two movies are, other than that horse shit and stuff, but at least they're cohesive. It's a violent, brutal fucking Michael Myers. And I don't hate the first one as much as a lot of people do. I think the first one's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never going to compare to the first, but that's a different review for a different day.
Yeah.
But this one just felt so disjointed. It felt like the payoff for the two movies was not worth it. This felt like its own movie, and I just was like, this is dumb. This is dumb. This is so dumb. Marissa said it was dumb, and she never judges movies. Even she was sitting there. She's like, this is dumb. And I was like, it is.
It definitely, I think it worked better as a standalone, but this was a terrible note to go out on a trilogy.
This couldn't have tested well. Like, you're talking about test audience. Like, how did this test well?
I don't understand how it did either.
Like, who sat, and I saw reviews of people saying this is their favorite Halloween film, and I'm like, what? Are you like, I just don't see it. And what am I missing here? It was shot well.
The only thing I can really commend it on was like, it wasn't executed well as far as story, but I can commend them for trying to do something different with it and trying to go out on a limb and doing something. But this wasn't the right time to do that. If you wanted to do something this experimental or whatever, you should have done this earlier in this trilogy. Like, maybe come out of the gate like that. That way people have some sort of expectations. Don't throw us on us after we already saw what you did in the first two, or doesn't even have the same feel as those first two movies.
Do you think this is one of those cases where it's like everybody hated Season of the Witch and like which is a good movie.
That's what people were saying.
And then
I know
they're
where you're
like,
going, yeah.
yeah, and but you think they're out there like, oh well, we hated that then, so maybe this really is secretly good, and we're gonna love it 10 years. Like, no, people, this just wasn't good.
That's what some people are saying. Is like, we may not like it now, but this may be a movie that gets cult following status in like 20 years or whatever. It's like, maybe if you get a ton of other bad Halloween movies up until that point to kind of
yeah,
make
because
it
it's
look
shot
better,
well. Yeah,
but
it just doesn't fit in this trilogy. I'm with you.
Exactly,
If this
I
would have
agree.
been its own standalone thing, this would have fit better in the Thorn, because the passing the evil through staring and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
that's all like crazy out there shit. Where this trilogy was not. That's not what this was. This was
Yeah.
just like, no, we're gonna be like realistic. He's just a brutal killer. And then this one, like, nah, forget it. Never mind.
Mhm.
Like, it's something supernatural, something magic. It's the evil within people. Everybody in Haddonfield's a fucking psychopath, apparently.
Yeah, at this point, even though it would have been the easy way to do it, whereas like, oh, it's been 4 years later, Michael just kind of comes back and starts killing people again. I would have liked that movie way more than this one.
Yeah, I like the safer movie. I'm with you. I think
It's
they
way
should have
more
just
safe.
continued.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think it would have been, it would have worked better. Like, just, he disappeared. Oh, he comes back 4 years later and decides to fucking kill people again.
Even a year later would have been fine.
Yeah.
Like, you could have did a year later. It would have been fine. Like, everybody could still been on the offensive. Like, still like.
Yeah. And I like the way they did the town. We didn't get to see this much of the town, at least during the day, either. I liked how they kind of did Haddonfield in this movie. It would have been cool to see Laurie running around through the fucking town trying to find Michael, or like her and Hawkins and Allison trying to find him, hunting him down. Who knows?
Yeah, like, we know this fucker's a lot. Start it just as they come and they see the dead daughter, and the movie fucking starts right from there. Like, now we're hunting Michael.
Yeah.
You can, like. We were all okay. I know he just got his ass beat and stuff, but like, I would have been okay if he's back to it. He's good again.
Yeah. And I mean, at that point, like, because people were complaining about Laurie chilling in the hospital in that last one, the whole movie. Yeah, it would have been a little weird to see her, like, because she could barely leave. Like, that was the whole point why she didn't leave the hospital. She tried to, she just couldn't because she was so hurt.
Yeah.
So I think it would have worked even like. As a movie, because it is a movie, you could have went out and still had her go out and try to find them and stuff. I don't know. Especially with the alternate ending of kills. Do you know like about the alternate ending of kills?
No.
It's the same exact movie, except I don't know if you remember much of Kills, where he kills her daughter out.
Yeah, right in the end.
Karen at the very end. Same exact thing, except it's just a tacked on little bit at the very end where Karen's phone rings, Laurie's in the hospital on the phone. And you hear the click, like it answers, and all you hear is like Michael breathing on the other end. And she's like, I'm fucking coming to get you, asshole, or pretty much. And then she like hangs up, and the very last shot is her walking out of the hospital with the knife in her hand that Allison gave her. And that's where it freezes frames on her holding that knife, and then it goes to credits. And that was the original plan, was how it was going to lead into the third one, where it was going to be on the same night, where she fucking leaves the hospital with the knife. Where it's like, that would have been way better, dude.
Can we start the Twitter post about the Snyder cut bullshit? Can we get that cut of the movie?
Kind of like the Game of Thrones season 8, where like people are petitioning to go refilm the whole season. Go back and remake this movie.
Do it again.
Do it again.
I'll forgive you. Pull it from theaters. Do it again. You made your money back.
More so. So use all that money you made back just to go make this other one.
Go put out and call it The Real Halloween Ends. Give me that movie. I'm fine with it.
I totally agree, man. But yeah, at this point, Blumhouse's the agreement between Trancas Films that is owned by like the Accods, who own the Halloween franchise. Their agreement is over with Blumhouse. So at this point, Halloween is a free agent. So
you want to pick it up?
I don't have the money, man, or else I would. Believe me, I feel like I could totally write a better movie.
Come on,
than this
guys,
one.
start subscribing. We'll write it together.
I could totally write a Halloween movie, no doubt. At this point, my guesses are gonna wait a couple years, and then then at that point, they're gonna start taking scripts in, taking pitches from studios, and then see who's the highest bidder to get those rights for the time being, and then. Either they'll reboot the whole franchise, start from the beginning. Maybe they'll pick and choose like they did with this series and see where they want to kind of take a starting off point. Like if they want to go from a continuation from the original 2 or like I don't know, from
Yeah.
maybe pick up from Halloween 4 where you bring Danielle Harris back as Jamie. Who knows? They love doing that
Oh,
kind of shit.
Jesus.
I kind of vote for starting fresh. Just start this bitch over somewhere else. I was on a boat of kind of starting like a limited TV series run where there is a comic run of Halloween where it kind of follows the story of Dr. Loomis's kid, who kind of grows up and becomes kind of a psychiatrist and is kind of getting into his father's old cases and is kind of obsessed with Michael because of his father. I would kind of like to see that kind of thing. You don't have to have Laurie. You don't have to have anything like that.
At this point,
Jamie
you
Lee
can't.
Curtis is done. You can have a new story and kind of follow, Dr. Loomis's son a little bit. Have like a limited, like 10 episode series or something, and then have Michael kind of cutting in and out of these episodes a little bit. Don't show too much, but I don't know. They need to do something a little bit new, refresh it a little bit.
If you said it after the first two, like you said, and just a few years later, because Loomis is dead. I know he comes back in the third one, but in the second one, if there was no third one, he's basically dead.
Yeah.
So you can have his son there. Laurie can be whatever, she survived, and you could pick it up that
you
he's
can
not
just say that
90.
Like, Laurie moved away, or like she left Haddonfield, and then you don't even have to hear about her ever again.
Or Jamie Lee Curtis can do a cameo. Like, I'm sure she'd be much more being like, I can do a cameo, like
or you could
I can do a phone call.
Just cast an actress to play a young Laurie Strode at that point.
Exactly.
Screw it.
Exactly.
Because we just did this trilogy going off of a sequel from the original first one. I don't really want them to continue going off of another one of these Halloweens. I would rather see them just kind of do something new, do something that hasn't been done before.
I don't think you can even go off one of these Halloweens. Like, like I said, this
I
one
don't know.
ended.
You give them a chance, they'll find a way to do it, man. They will have Busta Rhymes back in this bitch real quick.
I'll take it. Again, that's a better movie than this movie. I don't care. It's infinitely more watchable.
There is a script that I wish they would come back to eventually, which I'll talk to you about another time.
Let's wrap it up. We're getting way sidetracked. We're both passionate about these movies, though.
Yeah, I mean we've gone on about our some likes and a lot of complaints. Just to add one thing, I did mention about the music. Some people are saying this is Carpenter's best work of this trilogy. I disagree. I don't think this music in this, as far as the Carpenter score, I don't think it popped in this movie nearly as much as those last two. I don't think it was nearly as good.
I did like the intro when it's like, and the motif is the evil inside and passing. I liked when it was Pumpkin's opening, and I did like the music to that, like with it was like Pumpkin's opening and stuff.
Yeah, I think as far as like some of the chase stuff or like some of the like more intense score,
it's the same shit again and again. I guess I don't know. I'm with you.
It's not. If you listen to the Carpenter score, at least from the first two, the Halloween theme, like the original theme, is there, but a lot of the other stuff is different. Especially like between 2018 and Kills, both those soundtracks are awesome. I really like those. There's just nothing in this one that really popped for me that made it stick out, and I feel like that had a lot to do with just Michael not being out and just butchering people like we're used to. But
this has to do with Michael not being in the movie.
Exactly, which we've talked about. So got to do this, man. And it's going to be hard, but buy it, rent it, or miss it, Alex.
Miss it. I fucking hated it. Only watch it for pure curiosity of finishing this trilogy off.
Yeah, that's really the only thing I can recommend.
Is not what a movie should be merited on. It should not be you have to watch it if you've watched the other two. Like, you can't guilt me into watching this shit movie. Fuck you. I'll watch the other two and be fine. It can end like that.
Yeah, I would definitely say only watch this if you are curious enough about it, and if you've watched the other two in the series. Yeah. If you don't know much about it, or if you haven't seen this trilogy, I would say just watch 2018. Bam, cut it off, right? Because 2018 ends with an ending that you don't have to go into Halloween Kills. You don't have to go into fucking Halloween Ends. It ends with him getting burned up in that fucking fire in their house. And then they drive off. That's the end of the movie. Yeah. That's a nice little double feature. Halloween 78 and 2018. It's a great little two-parter, man. Yeah. They're fantastic. There really isn't much reason to go back to Kills or Ends. I mean, I like Kills for what it is, but it's not one that I would really go back to unless I have to. But definitely not Ends. I don't recommend Ends.
I don't recommend Ends. Kills is way higher for me than Ends. I like
Kills is definitely higher.
We're getting sidetracked again, but yeah. I'm with you.
This is a pretty bad movie.
It was a bad movie.
And those that are fans of the show, I usually don't like this. I usually don't shit on too many movies. I usually try to find some stuff I like about them, but man, this just doesn't do it.
When you were texting me and you were saying, "Oh, I got a lot of," I was like, "Is Wyatt gonna ostracize or like, are you gonna hate me?" Because I fucking hated it, and I was like,
no,
I was nervous. I was like, man, I hope I'm not like being negative
like
Nancy
I
over there.
mentioned, like I totally understand why people don't like this movie and why people hate it. There are aspects of this movie I do like. The rest of it I can do away with.
A broken clock strikes twice a day, man.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm not saying it's like unwatchable. Cinematography's good. Like there's bones to a good movie. It's the most important part is its writing. It is terrible. Cinematography could be the greatest thing of all day, but if the story is shit, who fucking cares at that point?
And you had all these years to plan this out, to plan this trilogy, and this is what you come up with.
And I think these people are talented to work on it. I hate shitting on them, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think the actors are talented. I think the writers who've done the 2018 Halloween Kills, I think they're talented. Just something went
I mean, it's
off
all
on
the
this
same
one.
people. So it's like, I don't know how they strayed so far from the greatness that Halloween 2018 is, at least to me.
I think it's like one of those.
It's just so weird.
It's like when an artist is like up and coming and they're hungry and they really want to prove themselves. They already did it. Like Halloween was so good and people loved it. They're like, yeah, we are good. And then there was nobody in that room to say no. Like everybody's too afraid now. They've already made all this money off these movies. Like you're not going to tell the superstar no. So there's a writer and they're like, well, I wanted to do this. Nobody was ballsy enough to be like, no, man, like that's dumb. Don't do that.
Yeah, and I say if they were dead set on going with this story, people bitch so much about Halloween Kills not having much of a story. You could have merged them both into it. Like you could have incorporated Corey and some of these ideas into Kills, so it wasn't so jarring in this one.
Jarring, like it was a whole new movie.
Exactly. You could have done it. You could have handled it a lot better. You could have handled that transition a lot better.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I could bitch about this all night, man.
I know. But yeah, that's a review. Where can everybody find you here, Alex?
You can find me on Tap That, on Twitter, Facebook, all the logos. Look for my beautiful smiling face.
All right, and of course, everybody make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Go follow us on Twitter at Cinema Trip Views, and also go check us out wherever you get your podcasts. We're available pretty much everywhere. Make sure you leave us a good review on those as well. And we'll see everybody else next time.